Well, hello everybody. Happy afternoon. Okay, I see we are up. If you guys could share this out when you get an opportunity, or if you could like it, leave comments, that would be great. Today, we are talking about a service called Help a Reporter Out. And so if you are ready to help a reporter out, this service may be for you. And so for those of you who are not familiar, Help a Reporter Out, and there are other services as well, like Source Bottle is one, Pitch Rate is another. And these are really just services that kind of try to match well, they don't kind of, they try, or they don't try, they do. They match a journalist who may be looking for a story with the person who can provide the story. And so if you are looking to get more media in 2018, then this may be a great place for you to start, because you can go on and literally just see lists and lists of journalists and stories that are looking to be paired with you. And so I actually put together a HARO cheat sheet, a Help a Reporter Out cheat sheet, but it could be used with Pitch Rate, it could be used with Source Bottle, whichever one you use. And there's some other ones that are coming out too. But if you'd like that cheat sheet, just comment me below. I don't have it like ready to go. I thought I did, but I don't, and I couldn't wait to do this because I've got another meeting. So I will send it to you later, I promise. But just comment me below, and I will make sure that you get on the list, that either me or my assistant sends that to you so that you get it. But it's a cheat sheet really on how to put together a response to a pitch for Help a Reporter Out. But I have 12, quick tips. We're going to see how quick they are. I'm going to try to make them quick. But this really is a very valuable service. And I was just having a conversation with somebody who, really is looking to get more media. And I suggested she try this because she wasn't quite ready to pay a publicist. And she got 2 hits like immediately. So in their major outlets sometimes, not all the time, but like Huffington Post, CNN, WebMD, a lot of them, and major magazines like Good Housekeeping and others really do use this to look for opportunities if they don't already have somebody. So like I said, HARO, or Help a Reporter Out, it really is just matching up. And so you can log on, you can create an account, and you can select like how you want to receive the information. So you can kind of get like a digest where they send you like all the pitches from the day, or you can get it sent to you like 3 times a day or whatever, and you can tell them what you're interested in. So if it's business or finance, if it's lifestyle, if it's health or fitness, sometimes I'll see pitches and I'll recognize somebody that I think would be great. Like my dear friend Kwanda Lamb, I saw one, and it was for a teacher who also kind of was doing something on the side, like they were building a business on the side, and she's a teacher that's building a business on the side. And I sent it to her. I was like, if you're not on HARO, join today and send them a response, because it could be a good opportunity for you to get media. So it happens all the time, and I always see pitches for people, and I'm like, oh, I know who could do that. That would be perfect. And then, I kind of move on. But I also sometimes will use it for clients, and I will use it for myself. And I know other people that have used it, and it works really well. So that's just kind of how it is and how it works. You can get a free account. They'll ask you if you're a journalist, or they'll ask you if you're a source. You are the source, or you could be the journalist, but for most people, you're the source. And then, you do that. And so just know that, it's a hit or miss game. I mean, because obviously we're not the only people that have signed up for this service. So it could, you could get a response, you could not. I have submitted something and not gotten a response, for 3 to 4 months. I have submitted things, and then they be used because sometimes they'll ask you questions via email and you respond, and they've done the story and never told me that they did the story. And I'll tell you a way to find out if they do the story. But, you just have to know that this is just another tool to put in your toolkit, to use. So there is that. All right. So how do we play nice with Help a Reporter Out? And I'm trying to, follow any questions or comments and that sort of thing. So if I'm, oh, well, you don't want to hear me. So if this is, just know that I'm trying to do that as well as if I'm looking down. Somebody was like, why are you always looking down? I'm like, because I'm looking at my phone to see what y'all are saying to me. That's why. So the first thing, okay. So here are 12 quick tips. The first thing is to follow the rules. So they're very specific in what they want and what they're looking for. So give them what they ask for. So sometimes, you know, a query, and that's what they call them, a query, will ask you for one tip, like one tip on how to improve financial abundance. Give them the one tip. Don't give them two, don't give them three. And certainly don't respond and not share anything. But you need to make sure that you're following the rules. If they're looking for a physician's opinion, but you're just a licensed marriage and family therapist, even if you are the bomb.com, don't respond. There's a reason that that person, the journalist, the reporter, whatever, is looking for something specific. And if you don't offer it, certainly you won't be chosen, but you don't want to mess up your chances of being chosen in the future. Tip number 2, don't try to pitch a different story. So if the query asks for someone who has successfully used Chantix to quit smoking, I don't know. Don't write in to share how you used hypnotherapy in your private practice to help your clients kick their cigarette habits. I mean, don't do that. You're just wasting their time, and you're wasting yours too. And like I said, the journalist may be on deadline. He wants something specific, and he may have to get it finished, and to have to wade through all of these different pitches could irritate him. And like I said, this is another instance where you just don't want to mess up your chances going further. Be better than on time. For all of my, you know, if I show up a half an hour late, I'm still on time. It doesn't work in this world. So if the query requests that you respond by 7, don't respond at 10. You know, respond as soon as you can to get it in, because, you know, like I said, it could be on deadline, and your goal is to respond as soon as possible. Now, most of these services make that really easily, make it really easy. Like they send it at certain times. Like they, you know, they send it like, you know, I don't know the exact time, but like around 5:30 in the morning. They send them in the afternoon around, you know, 12:31, and then again like at around 6. And this is Eastern time. And so they make it really early to know when it's coming. And so if you're serious about this, and what has worked for me is really just to set aside maybe 20 minutes around the time so that you can go through and see what they're offering, if it's in your wheelhouse, and then you can follow up. And okay, so the 4th tip, you want to create a template. So one easy way to cut down on this is to have like your introduction pre-written, information about where they can find you online and what you do online and how you can be contacted. So you really want to establish credibility. So you want to you know, you want to make sure you let them know how to contact you, but you also want to establish a little bit about who you are. And so kind of having a template that you can then, you know, dump the specific information into just cuts down on your response time. And so know that. There are a couple things that I would look for, and I might mention these later, I can't remember, but the first thing is you do want to personalize it. So even though you have a template that you're using, most journalists, you'll know their first name, so use that. Don't, you know, put to whom it may concern or anything like that. But follow the basic rules and make sure, you know, like I said, that you have the contact information, you kind of establish who you are online, you know, and what your professional title is. Number 5 is stand out. So one of the things I've talked about a lot is not just the subject line in sending a media pitch, but also the headline in a press release. And this is no different. You want to use a subject line and make sure that it stands out, because sometimes it's more important than the content you're actually sharing, because that's what determines sometimes whether or not they, you know, are going to open it or not. So, you know, be specific. If they're asking for, you know, you to share the ways that you've been able to use sports to better your relationship, I don't know, use sports to better your relationship, don't respond, this is how I use sports to better my relationship, because I can guarantee you that 90% of people are going to respond, this is how I use sports to better my relationship. So be specific, and kind of be, you know, kind of make it interesting and juicy and wanting to open it. So I always suggest you use like clear cut, you know, numbers. So maybe you say, maybe you use 7 ways basketball helped me rebound in my relationship. And I'm laughing because the rebound and the basketball, sometimes I crack myself up. So you're specific and you make it cute and fun, and that's going to be different than just responding to what they've asked for. So make sure that you're setting yourself apart, and just kind of setting that up. Number 6 is give great advice and give it in the right way. So have an opinion, absolutely. But also make sure that, that it's not too vague, it's not too wordy, that there is some substance, but that you're being straight and to the point. You certainly don't want to weigh down the email so that the journalist just gives up because it's too much to get through. So you want to be positive. You want to, like I said, you want to respond, but you want to make sure that it is short and to the point. Tip number 7 is don't use jargon. So if you are in a field that may be technical, maybe you're a doctor and, you have all the medical terms, you want to make sure that you are explaining things even in your query or the response to the query that a 12-year-old could understand. Because if a 12-year-old couldn't really understand it, then you're doing it wrong. They say that the 5th grade level is kind of the base in America, which is a little scary, but that's the truth. And so you want to make sure that no matter what, that you're sharing things in a manner that a 12-year-old can digest. And so you want to be very, very careful about that. Tip number 8. So tip number 7, don't use jargon. Tip number 8 is write skimmable content. And so skimmable means that you want to make it your goal that the reporter can just cut and paste what you've written right into their article. So I like to use bullet points sometimes when I'm responding to queries, and really each bullet point is something that could just be cut and paste. My experience is that 95% of the time, that's what they do. So you want to make sure that, it makes sense, you're writing to the 12-year-old, and that it's just, and I always say, think tweetable too. So you want to make sure that any of the sound bites that you get picked up are something that you might see in a tweet. So here's where we talk about how you can follow up without following up, because a lot of times if you try to follow up, you may not get a response because everybody's trying to follow up. So that's not a good approach all the time. So I suggest you use Google Alerts. And this is how I find out when people will write about me or write about my clients, but they haven't confirmed that they're going to write about me or write about my clients. So use Google Alerts. And this is just good standard practice. If you do anything online, if you're active online, you should have Google Alerts just on your name, so that if anybody mentions you anywhere for any reason, you know about it. And so, like I said, this is just good standard practice so that you can monitor what's being said about you online. But this is also how you can find out if people publish about you and they haven't necessarily followed up. So tip number 10 kind of piggybacks on that. Don't write a checking in email. Don't write to just check to see if they got your email, or write to check to see if they need anything else. Do they, you want to check. Don't do that. Most reporters, they won't reply, but then they also may file that away. Unfortunately, this is not the time to try to establish a relationship with a reporter. I talk about that a lot too, how to establish a relationship. This is not necessarily the time, just because of the way the system is set up. Like I said, they're getting thousands of responses. And so I'm trying to give you some tips on how to stand out and make it a little bit easier, but it's not really set up so that you can establish relationships. I've talked a lot about how you can do that outside of the system, so you can do it that way, but don't do it using help a reporter out. So now let's talk about how to follow up the right ways. This is tip number 11. So there is a time and place for following up. Don't get me wrong. And that's after your brilliance, your advice, your comment, whatever, has been actually published by a reporter. So some of the ways you can do, and this is not limited to, but is pretty extensive. You can comment on the article, thanking them for sharing your advice with their readers. You can reshare that article and tag the writer or the reporter in it. You can, put it on different places like Pinterest and LinkedIn. You can find a tweetable quote and then put it on Twitter. You can post the article on your blog, maybe with a post related to that, that content. And you can encourage your readers, fans, whoever, anyone who will listen, to share the article on their own. Because the other thing that this does is sets you up for looking as if you have some sort of reach. So when you encourage people to share, and the people, the reporter's looking like, oh my gosh, normally I get 500 shares, but I published this author and I got 2,000. you know, maybe they'll come to you again because they realize that you're going to, you know, you're going to get some reach. So now say, for instance, they, you know, they do publish it and you want to try to follow up directly. I'm not going to stop you. But if you do that, follow up and remember to offer to do it again. So a lot of times journalists, you know, are always looking, especially if they write in a certain field, like their health and fitness or their lifestyle, or there's something like that. So they're constantly looking for experts, and to find somebody that not only gives you valuable advice once, but then offers to be a resource is extremely helpful. And so if you have success and you do get published and you just cannot resist following up, just make sure when you do it that you're offering to do it again, because then it's not kind of, you know, like a badgering thing, but it's you offering to be a resource. And so that often works very well also. So that's really, that's a lot of it. The Help a Reporter Out, 12 quick tips. Like I said, I have a cheat sheet that has some of this information, but it also has a lot more. So, oh, thank you, Marlene. Pretty top. Thank you, Marlene. Hey, Michael. Hey, Simone. Thank you. Oh, hey, in Italy. I love it. Hey, Marlene. Zelda, how are you? Hey, Steve. Hey, Carl. Hey, Pierre. Hey, Pedro. Thank you guys for logging on. So if you would like to get this Help a Reporter Out cheat sheet, just drop me. Like I said, I haven't quite gotten it ready to go, so I don't have the link to offer now, but I will certainly follow up and make sure that you get it. So if you're interested in doing that, like I said, just respond below. I hope this has been helpful, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day.